welcome to the video. Today I'll be showing you how to create functional windscreen wipers for your GTA 5 vehicle. Blender, ZModeler 3 and VFunks V are required. Alright, so first things first, we need to prepare the car for Blender because I use Blender to set the local axis positions of the windscreen wipers where they rotate from their origin point. You can do this in ZModeler as well, but it's going to require a lot more trial and error and it's going to take a lot of time, and for the purposes of this tutorial, it's just simpler to use Blender for me, so that's what I'm going to do. First things first, we need to detach the windscreen wipers from this car. I've already exported the car itself without its windscreen wipers off screen, so I don't spend fucking 10 minutes doing that. So let's isolate the chassis. And we're going to grab both windscreen wipers. They can both be attached to each other. We can detach them in Blender. So let's just grab all of this. Now the same sort of principles will apply to any car that has windscreen wipers in the game or outside of the game. So for example, a Forza model, it would be a similar process. The only difference is you'd have to, test to make sure you're getting the angles correct and whatnot. But with some trial and error, it's possible. Obviously, this is just to show the methods I use in order to achieve function in windscreen wipers. This tutorial may not apply to every single windscreen wiper in existence, but it'll apply to the vast majority of them. So just keep that in mind. So what I'm doing is just using element select with right click to select the windscreen wipers. I'm then using H to hide them to make sure I haven't missed anything. I use undo to make it reappear as well. Ah, forgot the bottom bit. Let's grab that there. It's important not to miss these bits because this is where it's this is where it's going to rotate from. Yeah, that's it. All right. So then we're going to modify, detach. You want to make sure that turn new object is turned on, enable drag is turned off, and keep original is turned off as well. So let's do that. Now they've been detached. We can jump out of isolated mode, like so. Then we'll undo. Sorry, we'll unlink, my bad. Hello? Oh, there we go, we already unlinked it. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is create a copy of one of these dummies. And we're going to rename this to Oracle C underscore wipers. Now what I'm going to do is export as DAE. There's the Oracle that I exported earlier. I'm going to turn off whole scene export, and then we're going to call it Oracle C underscore wipers. The same name as the dummy. Export. Doing that will make it so it only exports what's inside of the dummy rather than everything. Now we're going to start Blender. I'm going to do File, Import, DAE. And we're going to go to the file path for this vehicle. We got Oracle C.DAE and we got Oracle C underscore wipers.dae. So we're going to import the Oracle C.dae. I'm going to get rid of this. For some reason the bumper got messed up, but that's fine. We don't need the bumper. I see renamed it because there were duplicate parts. That's fine. Not a big deal. Okay, so basically, reason why we've exported the entire car is because we need the windscreen wiper as a reference. My model obviously doesn't have the wipers by default. I did that on purpose so they're not colliding with each other, and it's super simple to see what's what. So I'm going to close this collection. I'm going to name it car. We'll create a new collection. We're going to call it wipers. I'm also going to save this as well. So I'll put it in the same folder as the car project. So we'll just call this funks underscore wipers, like so. Alright, now we're going to import the wipers. So file, import, DAE, Oracle C wipers.dae. We'll import that. Now we can begin. So we'll get rid of that dummy. We've got our separated wipers. So first things first, we're going to go into edit mode with tab, Alt Z to enable X-ray, and then we're going to select the right windscreen wiper. We'll do P to separate it, and then click by selection, like so. So now we've got the left windscreen wiper and the right windscreen wiper. I'm going to name this one wiper underscore L. I'm going to name this one wiper underscore R. Now you can name your windscreen wipers whatever you want. VFunksV allows you to create a custom configuration for any bone name you want. So it could be called 69420 if you wanted it to be called that, and you could still configure it to work as a windscreen wiper. But for simplicity's sake and for keeping everything in nice and in order, wiper L and wiper R works fine for this car. That rhymes. Okay, so we've got our wipers. They're both separated. We've got the rest of the car as a reference. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Shift A, and we're going to add an empty plane axis. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of my windscreen wipers. I'm going to isolate it with the / button. I'm going to select this. I'm going to delete it. Then I'm going to do Shift plus Alt plus left click whilst in edge mode to get this entire loop. I'm going to press F, and then I'm going to do switch to face mode and poke faces. So we've got this center point. What? Oh, I see. There's some edge split. Alright, so I'll select that, merge by distance, and then do Alt plus left click, and fill it, and then poke faces. That way we get the center point. What you want is the center point. Make sure there is no edge split around, otherwise it'll fuck it up. Okay, so we've got that now. Don't worry about the normals on that. We'll be fixing those. Now I'm going to Control plus left click on empty inside of the hierarchy, and then do / again to isolate them. Then I'm going to move my dummy up to this point. I'm going to enable snapping to vertex with bounding box selection mode. Then we're going to move this to the center point. It should snap to it like so. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. And we switch back to viewport shading, or just this mode. Yep, happy with that. So now for the more complicated part, I'm going to switch to local. So this will move the axis based on the local rotation of it. So for example, if you rotate it on the Z by 20 degrees, when you rotate it on X, it will rotate it on the object's X rather than the world X, which would look like this. So let's do that. I'm going to isolate it again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to X view, and what I want to do is sort of line this Y axis on this, so sort of diagonally. So I'm going to do RX, and I'm going to turn it until I'm happy with the rotation, so about there. Now, I see this also has a little bit of Z rotation, so we'll do RZ, and then we're going to rotate it a little bit on there as well, like so. So that looks about right. Now we don't need this back face bit anymore, so I'm going to delete that, so it fixes the normals. And then what I will do is I'll name this wiper underscore L underscore dummy. And I'm going to select the wiper, control, and then select the wiper L dummy. And I'm going to do control P, set parent to object, and keep transform. Now, when I move the wiper L dummy on the y-axis, the wiper will also move, like so. Now, what I'm seeing here is when I move this up to the intended angle I'd like it to have it at, so around 70 degrees, it's moving it too far up. So what we need to do is select the wiper, do Alt-P, clear parent, and keep transformation. And then we're going to alter the rotation of this bone. So we're going to rotate it on X more, so RX, X, and then we'll bring it down a lot more. So I'm pretty happy with that, and then we'll do the same thing again. Control P, object keep transform, and RZ, RX, Y. Okay, Y works better. Okay. Sometimes you've got to experiment with which one's doing what. So that is still a little bit high. So we're going to clear the parent again. And rotate this more on X. So I'm just going to try about there. This might be too much now, but that's okay. And we'll parent it again. And we'll try it again. So that is a lot better. Obviously, how close you get it is completely up to you. What I generally tend to do is get it as close as possible, looking from sort of left view. I'm pretty happy with this distance. Some maybe not, but once these are moving, you're not going to notice the small gap in between. And even then, it's good to have a little bit of a gap, just in case there's a piece of your geometry that decides it wants to clip through. So I'm happy with that. So this looks like it's rotating on Y, so RY, and we'll do 70. I think that's right. Might be minus 70. Yeah, it is. RY minus 70. Yeah, so I'm happy with that. So we'll save that, and then we'll move on to the other wiper. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to call this wiper R dummy. And we're going to go through the same process again, but with this wiper now. Move this over. Make sure it's centered, like so. I'm also going to reset the rotation of this real quick, so we'll just do 0 these out. And then we want to make them sort of match up again, same process. The reason why I 0 out is just to make life easier, so I don't have any of the original rotation on the object. So we'll do RX, and then we'll move this up to about there. And then we'll do RZ. We'll move that up to about there. Like I said, the angles will vary depending on your windscreen wipers.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Why the... I didn't say Alexa. Shut up. Sorry about that. Angles will depend on your windscreen wipers, of course. It's all just about trial and error to get it perfect. Okay, so based on this other one, I know that X rotation should probably be more. So I'm going to test that. Put it to about there and see what that looks like. So we will parent the wiper to the dummy. So Control P, object keep transform. And then we will rotate this on Y by minus 71. You can see here it's still a little bit high. So I'm going to clear the parent. Keep transformation, and then we'll rotate it more. And the reason why I clear the parent is because whatever changes I make to the dummy will also affect the child of the dummy as well. So keep that in mind. A bit more, so about there. And then we'll do the same thing again. Control P. Object key transform. So RY minus 70. Almost there. Bit more. Okay, I'm happy with that. It's a bit close on that top bit, but it's not clipping, so that's fine. Or it's not clipping like through both sides of the windscreen, so it's fine. It is clipping through the top layer though, but that's okay. Alright, perfect. Once you're happy with your rotations, you've determined that they're not clipping. What you want to do is select both wipers and both wiper meshes and do all, apply all transforms. Now the normals are a bit buggered on these, so I won't be using these meshes, but 9 times out of 10 that'll be fine for you. It's just standard GTA things, but I do need to export everything, so I'm going to. Make sure that when you have the dummy selected, you don't reset rotation and scale or all transforms, because for obvious reasons, it will edit these and ruin all the work you've just made. So we're going to go to File, Export DAE, and we'll do GTA V. We'll do GTA 5. These are my custom settings. So main, select only. Global orientation is forward axis is Y, up axis is Z. Texture options, they're all turned off. Geometry, apply modifiers to a viewport. Don't triangulate, and transform as matrix. Armature, nothing. Animations, nothing. And extra, nothing. Those are my settings for exporting GTA 5 meshes. So we're going to models. Create a new folder. We'll call it VFunks. And we'll leave the name as it is because that works. VFunks wipers.de. And we'll export. Then we'll go to ZModeler. I'm gonna use these ones in a minute. So I'll just hide that for now. We'll save this and then we'll import. We'll go to the import folder, the models folder. So models, VFunks, and then VFunks wipers, sorry. And then we'll do turn off double-sided materials, keep rescale model, and we'll also shift UV channels and turn off rescale model. Import. So we've got our axes, or axes. I don't know what the plural of that is, but you know. Yeah, these are set up as they should be. And then we're going to get rid of the meshes because they are buggered. We're going to use these meshes instead. Just got to separate them, which is easy. Just isolate these so I can see what I'm doing. And we'll detach these. Get rid of the dummies for now. Like so. Okay. Now what we're going to do is name the wipers. So wiper _L, wiper _R. Then we'll turn on wiper L dummy. We'll go to display, copies local axis from one node to another. We'll select the dummy and then select our wiper. Like so. And then we'll do the same for the other one. So select our dummy, select our wiper. And we don't need these dummies anymore. People say the orientation of the axes matters, but it really doesn't. Obviously, in some cases it might, but you can specify whichever axis you want the wipers to turn on in the VFunks settings. So it's not necessarily that big a deal if it's not 100% correct. But this looks to be okay. Y is usually up in ZMod, so up is that way, which from the point of view of the wipers is correct, so that's fine. Now we'll go into the Oracle C. I'm just going to quickly rename this piece that I forgot to rename last time, so I'll call this and then let's go light. We're going to drag and drop wiper L and R. You can put them wherever you want in the hierarchy. I'm going to put them near the top. I'm also going to create a copy of dials. I'm going to dismiss it, delete the LODs, and then create another copy of it. And we're going to call this one wiper L, and then this one wiper R. And move these up to the top. And turn off L0 and convert both of these to a compound. So we got our default LOD. We'll turn on L0. And then bring the node over like so. We've got wiper L. And wiper R. And then what we'll also do is we'll go to chassis. We'll go to L1. And we'll grab these LODs too. So that way, from a distance, at least on L1, your wipers will still be moving if you see them. If they're on in the rain. These are some nasty LODs. Okay. Obviously, you don't have to do LODs if you don't want to, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I want to do it right. So I'm going to do the LODs. Perfect. So we've got our wiper L. Drag and drop this one. And then we've got our wiper R. Like so. You could do L2 if you want to, as well as L3, but for purposes of this, I'm not going to. I don't think the wipers really need to be shown as moving on L2 and above. It just seems a little bit excessive. And there's no wiper LODs on L3 anyway, so that works. Okay, so I'm going to export this car as I would export any other car. So file export, or just the export button there. Pick YFT. Oracle C underscore high, auto detect, export, yes, you can see it down the bottom here, exported highest lot only. It gives you some stats, and then you do the same thing again, but this time you click on oracle.yft. This only applies to cars with LODs. If your car doesn't have LODs, there's a different export example that I'll show in a second. So export, you can see here, exported all LODs except the highest, that's fine. Now if you don't have LODs on your car, then you'll do highest only for this, and you'll hit export, and then you'll rename the root of the hierarchy to the standard one without the underscore high, and you'll do highest only again. But my car has LODs, so I'm going to redo that. Like so. Alright, now we're ready to move on to the game. So I'm going to open OpenIV and click on GTA 5. First things first, I'm going to go to mods, update, times 64 DLC packs, my DLC for my vehicle. So in this case, where is it? Let's do Oracle C, DLC RPF, times 64, vehicles.rpf. I'm going to drag and drop the models that I've just exported there. like so. So you'll be able to see in here. Jump in here, wiper R and wiper L are at the top here, and they turn off like normal. And what we're going to do is go to File Explorer, go to where your GTA 5 is located. Mine is on my D drive, so that's where I'm going. We have VFunks here. You want to make sure VFunks is installed. You can get it at gta5mods.com. Let me just grab it through this link here. I'll leave a link in the description to VFunks V, sorry. And what you want to do is just download the latest version. Open it up. And then drag and drop all the files to your main game directory. Replace, like so. Then you want to enter your VFunks V folder. You want to create a copy of the sample car. And then you want to rename it to the name of your model. So in this case, it'll be C.ini. And we can open this up in Notepad++ or Notepad, whichever you want. Looks like he added more examples as well, which helps. That's cool. So we're going to get rid of all of these other than wiper L. Now the parts amount matters. For this, there'll be 2 parts. So we'll copy this one, paste it underneath. 2. And then we'll rename this to R. And up here, parts amount set to 2. Now, we need to make sure these settings are correct. So wiper L, that's fine. We've named it that. Oscillate, which means just continue to move from point A to point B over and over again, repeating. Point A being rotation Z minimum. Point B being rotation Z maximum. This determines whether it will rotate when the engine is on, and we only want it to do that when the engine is on, so that is set to 1. Rotation Z rain only, so that'll make it so it only rotates when it's raining. And then use default state 1. Basically what this does is, for example, if you have a windscreen wiper that starts in the center, then you will set this to 0.5. And then your windscreen wiper will rotate from plus 75 to minus 75, and then it will stop in the center, basically. That's how that works. So we want this to be set to minus 70 on Z. One thing to note is that in ZModeler, the Z-axis is actually forwards and backwards, and the Y-axis is up and down. But in game, this is flipped. So Y is treated as Z and Z is treated as Y. That's just how the game is. I don't know why ZModeler does it the other way around. It's a bit unusual, but you know, you live and you learn. So just keep that in mind. So we've got rotation Z maximum is set to 70, and we'll do the same for this one. And that should be good to go. So we will start the game and test it. Okay, so there's the Oracle. Looking like it normally does. What we'll do is we'll go to weather. We'll set the weather to rain, and then we'll see what the wipers are doing. It looks like they're going the wrong way right now. So I might need to change that from minus 70 to plus 70. Also seems to be rotating on the wrong axis as well. That's okay. We'll try Z and see if that works. Or Y. It's a bit unusual. It's already using that. So if you want to switch out the axis that it's rotating on, you just Alt and then left click and drag to grab all of these, and we'll change it to Y. And then same with this one. Don't have high hopes of that even working, since Z is meant to be Y and Y is meant to be Z. I'm not sure about that. Something weird is going on there. That's alright. A little bit of trial and error never hurt anyone. We'll also set... we'll leave it like that for now and see if that fixes things. One thing to note is that the script also has a reload function. I forgot it existed, so I restart the game like a newbie. That's okay though. So what you can do is... should be in here somewhere. Probably in the README file for the mod. Documentation, vfuncs vdoc. Here we go. Use cheat reload vfuncs to reload all car INIs in game, so we'll do that next time. There we go. So they are now working as intended. If I turn the engine on, they should also work. Like so. So I'm pretty happy with those. Looking pretty good. See how they look from the interior. Yep. One thing to know about these wipers is they're a little bit small on this car, but that's okay. They work, which is the main thing. But that is the tutorial on creating working windscreen wipers for your GTA 5 car. Obviously, like I said earlier, this tutorial isn't going to perfectly fit every single car you make wipers for. They do vary, but it gives you a general idea of how I achieve the working windscreen wipers as the methods I use as well. Sorry, as well as the methods I use as well. And that is all. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.